Hello, this is Friend in English YouTube channel. It created by Mr. Said Kamal. Today we will have lesson 2 story. It is called My Brother Martin. We were born in the same room, my brother Martin and I. I was an early baby, born sooner than expected. Mother dear and Daddy placed me in the chiffon robe drawer that stood in the corner of their upstairs bedroom. I got a crib a few days afterward. A year and a half later, Martin spent his first night in that hand-me-down crib in the very same room. The house where we were born belonged to Mother dear's parents, our grandparents, the Reverend and Mrs. A.D. Williams. We lived there with them and our Aunt Ida, our grandmother's sister. And not long after my brother Martin, who we called M.L., because he and Daddy had the same name, our baby brother was born. His name was Alfred Daniel, but we called him A.D., after our grandfather. They called me Christine, and like 3 peas in one pod, we grew together. Our days and rooms were filled with adventure stories and tinker toys, with dolls and Monopoly and Chinese checkers. And although Daddy, who was an important minister, and Mother dear, who was known far and wide as a musician, often had work that took them away from home, our grandmother was always there to take care of us. I remember days sitting at her feet, as she and Aunt Ida filled us with grand memories of their childhood and read to us about all the wonderful places in the world. And of course, my brothers and I had each other. We 3 stuck together like the pages in a brand new book. And being normal young children, we were almost always up to something. Our best prank involved a fur piece that belonged to our grandmother. It looked almost alive, with its tiny feet and little head and gleaming glass eyes. So, every once in a while, in the waning light of evening, we'd tie that fur piece to a stick, and, hiding behind the hedge in front of our house, we would dangle it in front of unsuspecting passers-by. Boy! You could hear the screams of fright all across the neighborhood. Then there was the time Mother dear decided that her children should all learn to play piano. I didn't mind too much, but ML and AD preferred being outside to being stuck inside with our piano teacher. Stop 20 seconds and try to guess the meaning of preferred. Preferred means, liked one thing more than other things. Mr. Man, who would rap your knuckles with a ruler just for playing the wrong notes. Well, one morning, ML and AD decided to loosen the legs on the piano bench so we wouldn't have to practice. We didn't tell Mr. Man, and when he sat, crash, down he went. But mostly we were good, obedient children, and ML did learn to play a few songs on the piano. He even went off to sing with our mother a time or two. Given his love for singing and music, I'm sure he could have become as good a musician as our mother had his life not called him down a different path. But that's just what his life did. My brothers and I grew up a long time ago. Back in a time when certain places in our country had unfair laws that said it was right to keep black people separate because our skin was darker and our ancestors had been captured in far-off Africa and brought to America as slaves. Stop 20 seconds and try to guess the meaning of captured. Captured means, caught. Atlanta, Georgia, the city in which we were growing up, had those laws. Because of those laws, my family rarely went to the picture shows or visited Grant Park with its famous cyclorama. In fact, to this very day I don't recall ever seeing my father on a streetcar. Stop 20 seconds and try to guess the meaning of recall. Recall means, remember something and tell people about it. Because of those laws, and the indignity that went with them, Daddy preferred keeping ML, AD, and me close to home, where we'd be protected. We lived in a neighborhood in Atlanta that's now called Sweet Auburn. It was named for Auburn Avenue, the street that ran in front of our house. On our side of the street stood two-story frame houses similar to the one we lived in. Across it crouched a line of one-story row houses and a store owned by a white family. When we were young, all the children along Auburn Avenue played together, even the two boys whose parents owned the store. And since our house was the favorite gathering place, those boys played with us in our backyard and ran with ML and AD to the fiery house on the corner where they watched the engines and the firemen. The thought of not playing with those kids because they were different, because they were white and we were black, never entered our minds. Well, one day, ML and AD went to get their playmates from across the street just as they had done 100 times before. But they came home alone. The boys had told my brothers that they couldn't play together anymore because AD and ML were Negroes. And that was it. Shortly afterward, the family sold the store and moved away. We never saw or heard from them again. Looking back, I realize that it was only a matter of time before the generations of cruelty and injustice. Stop 20 seconds and try to guess the meaning of injustice. Injustice means unfairness, and there is no equality in treating someone. That Daddy and Mother Dear and Mama and Aunt Ida had been shielding us from finally broke through. But back then it was a crushing blow that seemed to come out of nowhere. Why do white people treat colored people so mean? ML. Asked Mother Dear afterward. And with me and ML and AD. Standing in front of her trying our best to understand, Mother Dear gave the reason behind it all. Her words explained the streetcars our family avoided and the whites only sign that kept us off the elevator at City Hall. Her words told why there were parks and museums that black people could not visit and why some restaurants refused to serve us and why hotels wouldn't give us rooms and why theaters would only allow us to watch their picture shows from the balcony. But her words also gave us hope. She answered simply, because they just don't understand that everyone is the same, but someday, it will be better. And my brother ML looked up into our mother's face and said the words I remember to this day. He said, "Mother dear, one day I'm going to turn this world upside down." In the coming years there would be other reminders of the cruel system called segregation that sought to keep black people down. Stop 20 seconds and try to guess the meaning of segregation. Segregation means, keeping two groups of people apart. But it was Daddy who showed ML and AD and me how to speak out against hatred and bigotry and stand up for what's right. Stop bigotry, not a vocabulary, but I think you do not know it. Bigotry means intolerant devotion to one's own opinions. Daddy was the minister at Ebenezer Baptist Church. And after losing our playmates, when ML, AD, and I heard our father speak from his pulpit, his words held new meaning. And Daddy practiced what he preached. He always stood up for himself when confronted with hatred and bigotry, and each day he shared his encounters at the dinner table. Stop 20 seconds and try to guess the meaning of encounters. Encounters means experiences with something. When a shoe salesman told Daddy and ML that he'd only serve them in the back of the store because they were black, Daddy took ML somewhere else to buy new shoes. Another time, a police officer pulled Daddy over and called him boy. Daddy pointed to ML sitting next to him in the car and said, "This is a boy. I am a man, and until you call me one, I will not listen to you." These stories were as nourishing as the food that was set before us. Stop 20 seconds and try to guess the meaning of nourishing. Nourishing, giving the things needed for good health. Years would pass, and many new lessons would be learned. There would be numerous speeches and marches and prizes. Stop 20 seconds and try to guess the meaning of numerous. Numerous means many. But my brother never forgot the example of our father, or the promise he had made to our mother on the day his friends turned him away. Stop 20 seconds and try to guess the meaning of example. Example means a model of what something should be like. And when he was much older, my brother ML dreamed a dream. Stop 20 seconds and try to guess the meaning of example. Sorry, dream. Dream means a hope for the future. That turned the world upside down. Now I will let you with the vocabulary practice and its answer. Grammar. Are you ready for it? Now I will let you with the vocabulary. Grammar. Are you ready for it? What are the 4 kinds of sentences? A sentence that tells something is a statement. A statement ends with a period. A sentence that asks something is a question. A question ends with a question mark. A sentence that tells someone to do something is a command. A command ends with a period or an exclamation mark. A sentence that shows strong feeling is an exclamation. An exclamation ends with an exclamation point. The story has finished, but our video has not. Now we will take a questions and its answer to try understand everything in the story. Good readers set a purpose for reading based on their preview of the story, and what they know about genre. Authors often want readers to learn something, so you should think about what the author wants you to know. Martin grew up in his grandparents' house. What other family members lived in the house with Martin? Think. 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 The answer is Martin's grandmother, grandfather, Reverend A.D. William, Aunt Ida, Martin's dad, M.L. and Mom, his big sister Christine, and his little brother A.D. What are the benefits that Martin and his siblings have as a result of living with their grandmother and Aunt Ida? Think. 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 The answer is the grandmother was always there to take care of them while his parents were often away from home. Grandmother and Aunt Ida also shared memories from childhood and read to them. A simile is a way to compare two different things using the words like or as. What simile does the author use at the top of page 646 to describe Martin's relationship with his siblings? What does this simile mean? What is one piece of evidence that supports your answer? Think. 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 The answer is the author uses the simile stuck together like pages in a book. In the story, Martin had fun playing pranks with his siblings, which shows that they worked as a team. To have dignity means to believe in your own self-worth. To suffer from an indignity means that something has happened to humiliate or insult your self-worth. Reread page 648. Find examples of how Martin's father protected or shielded his family from the laws that kept blacks separate from whites and the indignity that went with them. Think. 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 The answer is: the family rarely went to picture shows, visited Grant Park, and their father rarely rode the streetcar. He preferred to keep the family close to home. Reread the paragraph at the top of page 650. What event did Martin and his siblings experience that was a crushing blow to them? How is this experience an example of injustice? Think. 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 The answer is: their white friends said that they could no longer play with them because they were Negroes. It is an example of injustice because Martin felt it was very wrong. How did Martin's mother respond when ML asked why white people treat colored people so mean? Think. 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 The answer is: she explained the laws to him and told him the white people simply did not understand that everyone was the same. What important lessons did Martin's father teach his children? Think. 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 The answer is: his father taught him how to speak out against bigotry and hatred. He also taught them to stand up for what's important. Now we will have the comprehension skill. Good readers set a purpose for reading based on their preview of the story, and what they know about genre. Authors often want readers to learn something, so you should think about what the author wants you to know. What genre do you think this story is? Think. 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 The answer is: this story is a biography. A biography tells about events in a person's life and is written by another person. What purpose might we have for reading this story? Think. 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 The answer is: information. Learn about Martin Luther King and his family. Learn about what life was like when Martin Luther King was growing up. Why does the story begin with a description of Christine's family structure? Think. 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 The answer is: to introduce the main characters and the setting in which they grew up. Did the author enjoy life in her childhood home? How do you know? Think. 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 The answer is: yes, she felt secure knowing that her grandmother and brothers would take care of her when their parents were away. She liked listening to the grand memories of her grandmother and Aunt Ida. What can you infer about the children from the game they played with their grandmother's fur? Think. 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 The answer is: they acted just like ordinary kids. If you had the choice, at what times might you have preferred taking music lessons to playing outside? Think. 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 When the weather outside was bad. How might Martin's life have been different had he chosen a career in music? Think. 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 The answer is: he might not have worked in the civil rights movement. He might not have died so early. For what reason might the author have included the information on the last paragraph on page 53? Think. 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 The answer is: to inform readers about the history of African Americans and slavery, to express her feelings about the laws that were in place when she was young. About the laws that were in place when she was young. The author's father wanted his children to be protected from unfair laws. What might have happened to African Americans who didn't obey the unfair laws? Think. 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 The answer is: they might be arrested. They might be arrested. They might be hurt or injured. What can you tell about the children on Auburn Avenue from the fact that they all play together? Think. 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 The answer is: skin color wasn't important to them. What happened to change the behavior of the boys whose parents owned the store? Think. 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 The answer is: the parents or other adults saw the children playing together and told the boys to stop. Why do you think the king children were so shocked when they realized that they were treated differently because of the color of their skin? Think. 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 The answer is: their family had shielded them from it, so they weren't aware that such behavior could occur. Which of the following would you consider an injustice: punishing a criminal, calling people names because of the way they dress, or fighting against a weaker person? Think. 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 The answer is: calling people names, fighting against a weaker person. Why do you think the author included her mother's statement that someday, it will be better? Think. 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 The answer is: to show that her family was hopeful in spite of the difficulties they faced, to show that her mother had hope for the future, to show that her brother, Martin Luther, was like their mother. Why do you the author chose to include Martin Luther's statement that he would turn the world upside down? Think. 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 The answer is to show readers that ML felt strongly that it was wrong to treat someone different because of their skin color, to persuade readers to feel the same way as Martin Luther did. What happened as a result of the king children losing their playmates? Think. 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 The answer is they became aware of segregation for the first time in their lives. They recognized new meaning in their father's sermons. They realized the need to stand up for themselves. How could stories be as nourishing as food? Think. 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 The answer is nourishing means healthful. Food nourishes the body, while stories are healthful for the spirit by inspiring and giving hope for the future. How did Martin Luther's father's stories nourish his family? Think. 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 The answer is showing them how he stood up for himself made them feel comforted and strong, just as food would. Do you have a dream about something you hope will happen someday? Briefly describe it. Think. 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 The answer is getting on the softball team, going to college, world peace. Now the video is finished. Thanks to you all. Great job.